The Boys is full of villains. Homelander, a walking nuclear bomb who couldn't care less about human life. The Deep, a manipulator obsessed with control and status. And Black Noir, a silent killer who seems to take pleasure in the chaos. But what if I told you the real villain of The Boys isn't any of them? What if the true monster is the man who dedicated his entire life to stopping evil supes? What if the real villain is Billy Butcher? If you really think about it, Butcher is one of the most morally corrupt characters in The Boys, and that's saying a lot considering he exists in a show filled with some of the worst people we've ever seen on TV. In this video, we're breaking down all the terrible things Billy Butcher has done, and how every time it seems like he's about to change for the better, he somehow manages to change for the worse. But before we talk about how evil Butcher really is, we first need to understand why he's like this. Like most characters in The Boys, Butcher had a rough childhood. It was just him, his younger brother Lenny, and his abusive father. Their mom was still around, but she never did much to help. In fact, later in the show we even see her defend their father and make excuses for his behavior. Butcher was old enough to take the constant beatings, but Lenny on the other hand wasn't. And when Butcher eventually left to join the army, Lenny was left alone to face it all. He couldn't take it anymore, and tragically, he took his own life. Naturally, this left Butcher with a crushing sense of guilt, and who could blame him? If he stayed, Lenny might still be alive. That guilt never left him, it just hardened him. Then, just when it seemed like Butcher had finally found peace with the love of his life, Becca, she was taken from him. Homelander got her pregnant and Vought covered it up, forcing her into hiding. That was the breaking point. That's when Butcher's grief turned into something darker, a burning hatred for every supe alive, a hatred so deep it would turn him into the most vengeful character in the entire show. But now let's talk about all the terrible things Billy Butcher has done. Now I know a lot of people are going to say, how can you call Butcher the real villain when Homelander exists? And honestly, that's a fair question. But the truth is, Homelander and Butcher are a lot closer on the moral scale than most people realize. And I could even argue that Butcher is worse than Homelander. Homelander hates humans just as much as Butcher hates supes. Take that scene where Homelander forces that woman to jump off a building. It's one of the darkest moments in the entire show, but are we really going to pretend that Butcher wouldn't do something just as cruel if it were a supe instead of a human? You're telling me you couldn't see Butcher forcing another supe to kill himself just to watch him do it? We've already seen him do terrible things to seemingly innocent supes. Remember Mesmer? He wasn't some evil psychopath. He had a daughter and he was just trying to survive. And Butcher still killed him in one of the most brutal ways possible and didn't feel a single ounce of guilt. The real difference between Homelander and Butcher is that Homelander never really had a choice in who he became. He was created in a lab, raised without love, and shaped into a weapon and marketing tool. Of course he's gonna come out evil. But Butcher, on the other hand, did have a choice, and somehow he's still almost as evil. In the upcoming 5th and final season, Butcher's goal is nothing short of genocide. He wants to wipe out every supe, good or bad. He doesn't care about Starlight, he doesn't care about Kamiko, he just wants them all dead. And if you look back at season 4, we already saw that darkness take over. He tortured a scientist, literally cutting his leg off without a second thought, just to get what he wanted. And then there's Victoria Newman. Butcher killed her right in front of her daughter, leaving that little girl completely alone in an adoption center. Yeah, he has a parasite inside him, but let's be honest, that parasite isn't changing who Butcher is, it's just bringing out what's already there. I swear, Billy Butcher is allergic to character development. Every time it seems like he's finally turning the other cheek, maybe becoming a decent guy for once, he just snaps right back into his old, cruel, brutal self. Personally, I never really liked Butcher. He's unnecessarily mean, constantly pushing people away, and every time I start to think, okay, maybe he's changing, he goes and does something completely stupid that makes me hate him all over again. At least Homelander is entertaining to watch and a little charming, but Butcher isn't any of that. In season 4, I honestly thought we were getting an Arthur Morgan style redemption arc. I was like, you know what, Butcher is actually growing on me this season. But then by the finale, he goes absolutely off the rails and somehow becomes even worse than before. Honestly, I think it's completely fair to say Billy Butcher is worse than every member of the Seven. Maybe not Homelander, but they're pretty much neck and neck on the evil scale. Butcher cares the most about Huey in season 3, and he still lets Huey take Compound V even after finding out it's slowly killing them. He's willing to sacrifice everything and everyone just to get revenge. Every cruel thing I see Homelander do, I could easily see Butcher doing as well, like make the Deep eat Timothy. That is totally something Butcher would do. And let's not forget one of the craziest moments of all. Butcher literally tried to blow up Madeline Stillwell's baby for absolutely no reason. Even Homelander, the guy who casually murders people mid-conversation, was like, whoa dude, that's a little bit much. And he actually saves the baby from Butcher. Some fans like to argue that the baby teleported itself, but let's be real, that makes no sense. The kid had no idea what was happening, and there was no way he would have been aware enough to teleport out of danger. The most logical answer is that Homelander stepped in and saved him from Butcher. Oh, and let's not forget, Butcher cheated on Becca. I know that sounds minor compared to murder and torture, but seriously, there is literally no excuse to cheat. And I mean, come on, why the hell would you cheat on Becca? Look at her. Butcher also has this incredible talent of resolving conflicts in the dumbest ways possible. Like in season 3, he knocks out Huey before going to Vought Tower, which turns out to be completely pointless because Huey gets there anyways. And honestly, Huey probably would have been super useful in that final battle. He could have easily teleported Ryan away so he wouldn't get blasted by Soldier Boy. It just would have been super awkward when they get teleported with their clothes off. And then there's the whole mess with Soldier Boy. Butcher just randomly turns on him and starts a full-on fight for no reason. Sure, you could say the first laser blast was to protect Ryan, which it was, but let's be honest, Soldier Boy had been surprisingly reasonable all season. There were a dozen ways Butcher could have handled that situation without breaking the truce and turning it into a fight. Soldier Boy literally did everything Butcher asked him, and of course Butcher had to screw it up. Even if they did manage to depower Homelander and everything went according to plan, I guarantee Butcher still would have turned on Soldier Boy in the end. Meanwhile, Soldier Boy, he probably would have just walked away in the sunset and let the boys live their lives. He just wanted to finish what he started and move on. At the end of season 4, Butcher has clearly become equally as bad as Homelander and is just as big as a threat. So in summary, yes, Butcher had a rough childhood, no one's denying that, but plenty of people in the boys have gone through worse and still managed to turn out better than him. Take Mother's Milk for example. He literally watched his entire family get crushed by a car, and he's still one of the kindest, most grounded people on the show. Meanwhile, Butcher is so blinded by rage and revenge that he can't see anything clearly. He's willing to kill anyone, sacrifice anyone, and burn every bridge just to get what he wants. He wants to kill every supe, good or bad, and he can't even keep his promises to the people closest to him. He snaps at Ryan multiple times even though he knows that mistreating him could turn him into the next Homelander. And on top of that, he's reckless and impulsive to a fault. Every time Homelander does something evil, you can easily imagine Butcher doing the exact same thing, just with a supe instead of a human. And by the end of season 4, Butcher isn't just fighting monsters anymore, he's becoming one, a threat just as dangerous as Homelander himself. But anyways, that is going to be the very end of the video. If you've enjoyed, please leave a like and subscribe to the channel and let me know what you think in the comments down below. And if you want to see more videos like this, I have a lot, from real victim videos to conspiracy theory videos. So go check those out, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Goodbye.